The smell hit me first. Sharp chemical, just plain wrong. I was out by the lake at dawn, fishing rod in hand, thinking maybe I'd catch a big one before breakfast, and then I saw it. Hundreds of fish bellies up, drifting across the glassy surface like silver coins, my lake dying right before my eyes. I dropped my tackle box and ran closer, heart pounding so hard I thought it might bust out of my chest. Water used to be crystal clear, but now it was murky, greenish-white foam clinging to the reeds. I wanted to believe it was just some runoff from the nearby construction, but then I spotted something worse, fresh tire marks, a trail of empty chemical containers half buried in the mud. My stomach dropped. This wasn't an accident. Somebody did this on purpose. And then I saw it. One of the containers had a sticker, bold as day, HOA maintenance supply. I just stood there, frozen, blood boiling. The same HOA that's been hassling me for months, telling me fishing doesn't fit the neighborhood image. I could practically hear Karen, the president, screeching at me again. What she never figured out, though, was that her precious HOA, every tap, every sprinkler, every swimming pool, they all drew water from this same lake. By killing my fishing spot, they'd poisoned their own supply, and I hadn't even said a word yet. I smiled slow and mean. They had no idea what was coming. Let me back up a sec. When I first moved into the neighborhood, I figured I'd found peace. My little farmhouse sat right beside the lake, a lake I inherited from my granddad, who dug it out himself way back when for irrigation fishing, raising catfish during the rainy season. But things changed. The HOA expanded lawns, streetlights, fancy houses with no fishing signs. But my land, my lake, was supposed to be outside their jurisdiction. Or so I thought. That changed the day Karen showed up at my door, clipboard in hand, fake smile painted on. Hi there. We're going over some new HOA guidelines. You'll need to stop fishing in that lake. It's community property now. Community property, lady. That lake's been in my family longer than the HOAs existed. Her smile faded. Well, we'll see about that. The board believes the board doesn't own my land. I cut her off. You can check the county records. From that day on, it was war. They sent letters, fines, even a legal notice. I ignored it. I knew my rights and I had the deed. But the games got dirtier. One morning my dock was vandalized, nails pulled out, planks floating loose. Next day my nets were slashed. Karen strolled by with her little dog, always saying, "You really should consider moving. This neighborhood doesn't suit your lifestyle." I tried to stay calm. Grandpa used to say, "You teach kindness by showing restraint." So I just nodded, fixed. The dock kept on fishing. Then came the community cleanup. I woke up to the sound of trucks by the lake. HOA volunteers dumping something in the water. Algae control, they claimed. But the smell could knock you flat. When I asked what they were doing, they brushed me off. Just maintenance. But I saw Karen nearby, arms crossed, smirk on her face. I didn't argue. I took pictures, videos, water samples. That night, the frogs went silent. Next morning, first dead fish by evening, the whole lake was a graveyard. You ever smell rot on the wind? Carries for miles. Birds vanished. My dog wouldn't even go near the water. That's when I found the containers and realized the truth. HOA had poisoned the lake and didn't even know they'd poisoned themselves. Because the water tower on the edge of the neighborhood pulled straight from this lake. 2 days later, chaos. Mrs. Dawson from down the street called me, panic in her voice. Our water's coming out brown. I nearly laughed. Brown. Smells like metal and something rotten. I stepped onto the porch, mug in hand, watched neighbors run house to house with buckets. The HOA water truck already by the lake. Karen pacing around on her phone, barking orders. No one drink the water. Shut down the sprinklers. We're investigating. Her voice cracked, but she tried to sound in control. That's the thing about people like her. They think authority means immunity. By noon, the panic had spread. Kids crying, lawns drying up, sprinklers, coughing brown sludge. Then a knock at my door. Karen's sunglasses up, floral blouse, sweat-stained, 2 board members behind her. Good morning, I said, smiling. How's the neighborhood? Lips tight, Karen snapped. Don't play games. You know what's going on. Do I? I leaned on the doorframe. We have reason to believe someone contaminated the lake. She wanted me to confess. You think I poisoned my own lake? You're the only one who's been using it, she shot back. You mean fishing on my property? That lake feeds our irrigation and water systems. It's shared. You sure about that? She blinked. The map says so. Maybe check those maps again, I said, shutting the door. Through the wood, I heard, he's bluffing. What if he's not? They were doubting themselves now. That evening, I saw neighbors trying to scoop water with filters useless. That poison was deep. Then Ethan, the little boy from across the street, came running up. Mom says we can't use the sink. Can I take some from your lake? I knelt beside him. Not now, buddy. The lake's sick. Who made it sick? Some people did something they shouldn't have. He nodded like he understood more than most grown-ups. Are you going to fix it? Oh, I will. Not just the lake. That night I couldn't sleep. Grandpa's voice echoing, never let bitterness make you blind. Fight smart, not angry. Next morning, I filed a report with the county environmental office, sent photos, samples, those container labels with the HOA's name. By noon, government trucks rolled in. Hazmat suits inspectors at the HOA's shed. Karen lost her mind screaming about privacy. Truth was coming out. I stayed on my porch acting like I didn't notice. I wanted them to feel what it's like to be powerless. Then I called the county zoning office. Can a private HOA draw municipal water from private property? The lady on the phone paused, then said, not without a legal easement. Just curious, I said. By the third evening, the neighborhood was falling apart. People hauling bottled water, fighting over deliveries, accusing each other of sabotage. HOA turned into a circus. Karen, standing by the ruined lake phone, dead shoes muddy, finally realized what they'd done, but not how deep it went. Because what she didn't know was that I'd requested a full audit of the HOA's infrastructure. Once the inspectors compared maps, they'd see every drop of water in those houses came from a lake they never owned. Fourth day, the neighborhood looked like a ghost town. Lawns, brown flowers, wilted driveways, muddy from bucket brigades. I heard shouting. Karen had called an emergency HOA meeting at the clubhouse, that fancy retreat. I watched the crowd forming SUVs, lined up, folks waving bottled water like protest signs. My kids are sick. We paid dues for what I sipped my coffee. The poisoned water they tried to control was now their enemy. Curiosity got the better of me. I wandered over, wasn't invited, but that never stopped me. Tension thick enough to choke on. Karen tried to calm the mob, but one old guy stood up. Outsider, you mean Carter? He's the only one still fishing. All eyes turned to me. I smiled, raised my hand. Morning, neighbors. Karen paled. You weren't invited, Mr. Carter, I noticed. But since it's about my lake, figured I'd show up. It's not your lake. Actually, I pulled out the original land deed. Registered in 1978, covers 23 acres, including the lake you've all been drawing from. Karen's eyes went wide. That's impossible. Our maps are wrong, I said. You've been stealing water. Gasps all around. Before she could argue, 2 county inspectors walked in, clipboards, evidence bags. We're addressing the contamination they announced. High concentration of copper sulfate chlorine. Containers labeled HOA maintenance supply. Environmental violation. The room exploded. Shouting phones out, Karen's face beat red. This is ridiculous. The inspector ignored her. County will issue citations and a full review. We'll also be contacting the property owner for cleanup. I raised a hand. That's me. Karen turned on me. You did this. You set us up. No, Karen, you did this to yourself. But even with all that justice, I couldn't really celebrate. Watching my lake, my grandpa's legacy, turn into a graveyard for fish didn't feel like winning. That night I sat beside my dog on the dock water, dull and lifeless. Don't worry, Grandpa, I whispered. I'll bring it back even if they don't deserve it. Next day I called an environmental restoration group, told them everything, offered to fund the cleanup myself. Word spread, neighbors showed up this time to apologize, some even volunteering to help. For the first time in months I felt hope. Maybe, just maybe, something good could grow out of this mess. That evening Karen watched from across the water. No yelling now, just a cold, stiff stare. And I knew it wasn't over. Not even close. Next morning, too quiet. Lake sitting still under early sun, fog curling along the water's edge. Felt almost peaceful until my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Enjoy your little victory, it won't last. Didn't need to guess who sent it, but things got weirder. My generator's fuel line slashed the backyard gate, wide open, tire tracks in the mud by the lake. Karen was making her move. A county truck rolled up for the cleanup. Lid Tech said, "Someone reported you're blocking access. What I called you here myself." He shrugged. "Came from the HOA president." He checked my deed, nodded. "You're clear. We'll document this as obstruction by the HOA." Karen wasn't giving up. She was doubling down. That night, footsteps outside my window. Karen herself, flashlight in hand. I started recording. Karen trespassing again. Checking the water, she snapped, voice shaking but sharp. "We have a community emergency." "This isn't your property," I said. "You're breaking the law." She glared. "You embarrassed me. You made me look like a fool." "Karen, you did that yourself. We'll take this lake back. You'll see. People like you never last." I raised my phone. "Say that again." She turned and stormed off. Next day, the HOA sent a mass email. "Resident restricting community access. Report suspicious behavior." Attached a blurry photo of me. Neighbors who'd volunteered backed away. Some stopped answering my calls. Karen's propaganda was working. For a few days, I kept quiet, fixed fences, replaced the fuel line, minded my own business. But deep down, I knew I had to push back. That evening, walking my dog by the water, I saw a new sign, Future HOA Recreational Zone. No unauthorized entry. Survey flags all along my property line fresh. I took photos, drove straight to the county office. The clerk frowned. "No approved project here. If they're marking land that's illegal." "We'll open a case," I said. "Make it public." She smiled. "Consider it done." Within a week, pure chaos. Inspectors, deputies, illegal signs removed. Karen getting cited for zoning violations. I watched from across the street. Maybe she'd finally learned. But then mailbox ripped off trash cans, overturned fisherman fraud spray painted across my fence. My fist clenched, but I remembered, fight smart, not angry. I took pictures, filed another report, and waited. 3 nights later, sour smell on the wind, my dog growling, black oily water shimmering in the moonlight. 3 silhouettes near the far bank. Karen and 2 board members, buckets in hand. I hit record. Karen hissed, "Pour it all in, we'll say it's fertilizer runoff." I called the sheriff right away. Deputies arrived. I showed them everything, recordings, containers, license plates. The sheriff knelt by the water. "You said this happened before." "Yes, sir." "County fined them. Now they're back." He nodded. "We'll send this for testing. If we match prints or handwriting, there'll be charges." But Karen hit back harder, neighbors showing up at my door accusing me. "You're poisoning the water." By noon, another HOA email, ongoing sabotage by individual. Authorities are aware. They didn't name me, but everyone knew. Dead fish thrown on my driveway with a note, "Payback for our water." I'd become the villain in her story. That evening, I went to the sheriff's office, handed over my phone. "We're getting complaints from both sides," the officer said. "Keep recording. Don't confront her. We need solid proof." This wasn't about the lake anymore. It was war. Next morning, my fence spray-painted "Water Terrorist." Garbage bags of rotting fish at my gate. Then I found a deer dying by the lake mouth, foaming white. It broke something inside me, not for revenge or pride, but for simple cruelty. They'd poisoned nature to win an argument. That night, another text, "Hope you like your new nickname." My grip tightened. No more warnings. I filed for a restraining order. The clerk nodded. "This is enough to move forward. HOA wouldn't be allowed within 200 feet. Finally." But as I left, Karen sat in her car across the street, sunglasses on, smiling sharp as glass. "See you at the hearing." That night a storm hit the lake. Swelled thunder, cracked lightning lit up the water, revealing a terrible secret. Morning, the world outside looked broken. Ranger barking by the water, I jogged down, heart pounding. A body pale, tangled in the reeds. Mr. Dawson, one of the board members. I called 911, hands trembling. Sirens, deputies, the coroner. Karen among the crowd, gasping. Medical examiner whispered, "Not an accident. Bruises on the arms, chemical burns. Looks like he fell into something toxic or was pushed." Karen jumped on it. "He had enemies, maybe?" Carter made good on his threats. The sheriff cut her off. "No assumptions until the investigation's done." But every head turned toward me. Days passed. The lake changed, still silent, holding its breath. Every night around 2:37 I'd hear splashing, but when I checked, nothing, just ripples fading into darkness. Sheriff called autopsy complete, acute poisoning and drowning. Traces of the same chemical found in the first contamination. Bruises suggest a struggle. "Karen," I whispered, "we're questioning everyone. They already painted me as a murderer. What's next?" "That's what we're worried about," the sheriff said. One night, walking by the dock, I heard a whisper. Shouldn't have done it coming from the water. Then a hand shot up, pale and ghostly, before sinking back under. Was I losing my mind? Next day, HOA tried to drain the lake. Karen with 2 men, a pump shovels. The machine jammed, hose burst, black water spraying everywhere. Karen's scream slipped into the lake. I ran to help, but the water was boiling, burning my skin. When the smoke cleared, she was gone. No trace. Not a splash, not a bubble. Firefighters found nothing. Sheriff said if she's gone, the lake might have taken her. That night, the lake looked peaceful for the first time in months, but I heard a whisper, "You were right." And then silence. By morning, Karen was gone. HOA replaced her with a stiff man named Harlan, smiling threats, asking for cooperation. I told him, "You come near the lake, you'll be arrested for trespassing." He didn't argue. That night, standing at the dock, I saw Karen's face just below the surface, smiling, then gone. Next day, new construction. Pipes, banners, lakeside renewal project. But by evening, the pumps were silent. The crew gone a truck, idling by the lake, footprints leading into the water. No return tracks. Next morning, Harlan vanished too. But the water for the first time was clear. Fish swam again. The lake wasn't healing. It was feeding. Weeks passed. County fenced off the lake hazardous restoration zone. HOA dissolved, residents moved away. New folks never stayed long. People said the water's clean now, but nobody fishes, nobody dares. Because late at night, when the fog rolls in, you can still hear it, 3 soft knocks echoing across the water. Knock, knock, knock. And if you listen close, you'll hear the lake whisper back, "We remember." So where are you watching from, friends? Would you have opened the door? Drop your thoughts below, and if you've ever tangled with an HOA, tell me about it. Let's talk about justice, right and wrong, because out here the lake never forgets.